into the world of mythology and challenge myself to uncover the fascinating stories of Hades, the god of the underworld. Hades, the Greek god of the underworld and lord of the dead, is one of the most misunderstood and misrepresented figures in mythology. Often viewed as a villain, a monstrous figure who delights in the suffering of others. But is this really an accurate portrayal of the god who rules the underworld? Let's start by addressing some of the biggest misconceptions surrounding Hades. And one of the main reasons for this skewed perception is the ways portrayed in popular culture. In many movies, TV shows, and even comic books, Hades is frequently depicted as a one-dimensional villain, a character obsessed with causing chaos and destruction. But as we'll soon discover, this couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, Hades is a complex and multifaceted character with a rich history and a deep sense of responsibility. He's not just a god of death. He's also a god of wealth, often referred to as Platon due to the riches buried beneath the earth, ruling over the treasures of the underworld. Hades is more than just a fearsome deity. He's a just and fair ruler, respected, and even admired by his fellow gods. So, where does the idea of Hades being evil come from? In Greek mythology, Hades is often seen as a neutral figure, primarily concerned with maintaining the balance and order of the universe. His role in ensuring the proper functioning of life and death is one of duty and responsibility, not malice. Let's rewind and explore the origins of Hades. Born to the titans Cronus and Rhea, he was one of the original Olympian gods, alongside his brothers Zeus and Poseidon, after the defeat of their father Cronus and the titans in a great cosmic battle. The three brothers drew lots to determine who would rule over different parts of the cosmos. Zeus became the ruler of the sky, Poseidon the ruler of the seas, and Hades, perhaps the least fortunate, drew the underworld. But rather than seeing this as a curse, Hades accepted his fate with dignity, ruling over his domain with a stern, yet fair hand. As the ruler of the underworld, Hades commanded respect from both the living and the dead. His domain, often referred to as Hades itself, was a realm where souls of the departed went after death. Unlike the burning, torturous version of hell seen in later traditions, the Greek underworld was a much more nuanced place. Here, Hades was surrounded by a host of iconic figures and creatures that helped maintain the order of the realm. There's Cerberus, the infamous three-headed dog who guarded the gates of the underworld, ensuring no one left without permission. Then there's Charon, the boatman who ferried souls across the river Styx, and the Erinyes or Furies, avenging spirits tasked with punishing those who dared disturb the natural order. Despite his dark and ominous associations, Hades was not devoid of emotion or humanity. One of the most famous and emotionally charged myths surrounding Hades is the story of his relationship with Persephone, the daughter of Demeter, goddess of agriculture. The story begins when Hades, struck by love, abducts Persephone and brings her to the underworld to become his queen. Demeter's grief over her daughter's abduction was so intense that she refused to allow crops to grow, plunging the world into famine. The gods intervened, and a compromise was made. Persephone would spend part of the year with her mother and part with her husband, Hades. This myth, while often seen as a dark tale of abduction, can also be seen as an exploration of the balance between life and death, growth and decay. Persephone's descent to the underworld symbolizes the winter months, while her return to Earth heralds the springtime and the rebirth of life. The myth of Persephone also reveals a more tender side of Hades. His love for her was deep and genuine, and while his method of obtaining her may be viewed as troubling by modern standards in the ancient world, it was seen as part of the inevitable cycle of life and death. The compromise reached between Hades and Zeus over Persephone's time on Earth also illustrates Hades' role as a negotiator and mediator among the gods, not simply a figure of terror. So, if Hades isn't the villain many stories make him out to be, what kind of god is he? Above all, Hades is a figure of immense power and responsibility. His role as the ruler of the dead is crucial to the functioning of the natural world. He ensures that the dead stay in their realm, and he governs the vast riches of the earth, from gold and silver to more symbolic forms of wealth. His fairness and dedication to his role earned him the respect of the other gods, and while he may not have been as beloved as his brothers Zeus and Poseidon, he was certainly not feared as an evil being. In fact, Hades is often described as a god who values justice, showing mercy to those who deserve it and punishing those who do not. One final myth worth mentioning is Hades' involvement in the story of Orpheus and Eurydice. Orpheus, a mortal with a divine gift for music, descended into the underworld to plead for the return of his beloved Eurydice. So moved was Hades by Orpheus' music and devotion that he agreed to let Eurydice return to the world of the living on one condition. Orpheus must not look back at her until they had both fully emerged from the underworld. Tragically, Orpheus failed to keep this promise, and Eurydice was lost to the underworld forever. This myth underscores Hades' sense of justice and mercy. He was willing to bend the rules for love, but once those rules were broken, he stood firm in upholding the natural order. In the end, Hades remains one of the most complex and compelling figures in Greek mythology. His role as the god of the underworld is one of great responsibility, not villainy. His relationships, his sense of duty, and his control over both death and wealth make him a multifaceted character worthy of exploration. He's not the monster many make him out to be, but rather a powerful and just ruler who maintains the delicate balance between life and death. Join me as we dive deep into the mysterious world of Norse mythology and challenge ourselves to unravel one of its most puzzling mysteries. Who really rules the dead? Is it the mighty Odin, king of the gods? Or perhaps Hel, the half-living, half-rotting daughter of Loki? Let's see if we can make sense of the afterlife in this fascinating mythological tradition. Norse mythology is rich with tales of gods, giants, and heroes, but few aspects of it are as fascinating or as complex as the afterlife. The ancient Norse believed that death was not an end, but rather a passage to another realm, and where a soul ended up after death depended greatly on the manner in which they died. However, as with many ancient mythologies, there's no one simple answer to the question of who rules the dead. In fact, if you've ever tried to figure out exactly what happens to a soul in the Norse afterlife, you've likely come across a mix of confusing and even contradictory answers. There are multiple realms of the dead, and each has its own ruler. But who is truly in charge? We know that the Norse believed in various afterlife destinations. Valhalla, a glorious hall presided over by Odin, where warriors slain in battle go to feast and prepare for Ragnarok. Then there's Helheim, ruled by the goddess Hel, where the souls of those who died of sickness, old age, or dishonor reside. And let's not forget Nibelheim, a cold and misty realm that overlaps with Helheim, often confused with Hel's domain but distinct in some ways. So, what is the relationship between these realms? Is Hel truly the ruler of all the dead, or is she only in charge of a portion of them? And where does Odin fit into all of this? These are questions that have puzzled scholars and enthusiasts alike. Let's start by focusing on Hel herself. Hel is one of the most intriguing figures in Norse mythology. She is the daughter of Loki, the trickster god, and her very appearance speaks volumes about her nature. Half of her body is that of a beautiful woman, while the other half is decayed and rotting, a stark reminder of death's dual nature, the line between life and decay. Hel rules over Helheim, the realm where those who die of illness, old age, or less honorable deaths are sent. But her role in the mythology is far more significant than just governing this one portion of the afterlife. Hel's realm is described as cold, dark, and shadowy, a place devoid of the glory that warriors find in Valhalla. Yet, For many of the dead, this is where their journey ends, and Hell is the one who watches over them. Her domain, while bleak, is not one of torment, at least not in the traditional sense of hellfire and brimstone. Hell's realm represents the inevitable decay that comes with death. It's not a place of punishment, but rather a place of rest for those who have passed on without the honor of battle. Let's turn to Odin, the All-Father, King of the Aesir. Odin is known for many things. His wisdom, his role in war, his insatiable for knowledge. But he's also connected to the dead. Odin chooses slain warriors to join him in Valhalla, the grand hall where they continue to fight and feast in preparation for the end of the world, Ragnarok. Valhalla is often depicted as a warrior's paradise. Those who die bravely in battle are selected by Odin's Valkyries and taken to this magnificent hall. Here, they feast and engage in combat during the day, and by night, their wounds are healed so they can do it all over again. It's a hero's afterlife, one reserved for the elite. But this raises an important question. What about those who don't fall in battle? Are they relegated to the cold clutches of Hell? In a way, Odin and Hell seem to split the responsibilities of death. Odin gathers the brave and honorable, while Hell presides over the rest. But even that division is not so clear-cut. What makes things even more confusing is the overlap between Helheim and another realm, Niflheim. Niflheim is one of the 9 worlds in Norse cosmology, a land of mist and cold that predates even the creation of the gods. According to some accounts, Helheim lies within Niflheim, or at least near it. The 2 realms are often mentioned together, leading some to believe that Hell might have jurisdiction over more than just her Hall of Helheim. Niflheim, however, is described as a place of eternal cold and darkness, where souls wander aimlessly. Some sources suggest it's where the truly dishonored or damned souls reside, those who have committed unspeakable crimes or betrayed the gods. Does Hell control this realm too, or is Niflheim something separate? The lines blur, but one thing is clear. Hell's dominion over the dead is far-reaching, and if things weren't complicated enough, there's a third figure we need to consider, Freya. The goddess of love, fertility, and battle, has a special connection to the dead as well. She presides over a realm called Folkvang, and according to the mythology, she receives half of the warriors who die in battle, while Odin takes the other half to Valhalla. This raises another question. How does Freya fit into the overall picture? Is she a co-ruler of the dead, or does her realm only pertain to warriors? Once again, we're left with more questions than answers. So, who really rules the dead? The truth might be that there's no singular ruler. Norse mythology is, at its core, a tapestry of stories woven together, often with inconsistencies. The afterlife is no different. Hell certainly holds dominion over a large portion of the dead, particularly those who die from natural causes or dishonor. Odin, meanwhile, rules over Valhalla and the souls of warriors. While Freya shares in this responsibility, it seems that the afterlife in Norse mythology reflects the many facets of death itself. Death is not a one-size-fits-all experience, and neither is the afterlife. Each god or goddess oversees a different aspect of death, and each realm offers a different experience based on how a person lived and died. As we've seen, the concept of death in the afterlife in Norse mythology is incredibly complex. Hell, Odin, Freya, Niflheim, Helheim, Valhalla, all of these names and places form a mosaic of mythological beliefs about what happens after we die. And while we may never fully unravel the mystery of who truly rules the dead, one thing is clear. Death in Norse mythology is as multifaceted as life itself. Join me as I dive deep into the lore of Heimdall, the all-seeing guardian of Ragnarok, Together, let's uncover his secrets before the end of this video. In this journey, you will discover the remarkable Norse god known for his unparalleled senses and his critical role in the events of Ragnarok. Are you ready? Let's go! Heimdall's duty as the guardian of Asgard isn't just a walk in the park. It's a constant, vigilant task. Positioned at the Rainbow Bridge, Bifrost, he stands ready to protect the realm from giants and other foes who threaten the peace of the gods. You see, being a watchman isn't just about keeping an eye out. It's about embodying a sense of duty that requires unyielding dedication and bravery. Heimdall isn't merely a passive observer. He's a fierce warrior, prepared to defend Asgard at a moment's notice. Imagine the pressure he faces. The giants are relentless, and the fate of Asgard hangs in the balance. Each day, Heimdall scans the horizon, his heart heavy with the weight of his responsibilities. But let's take a moment to reflect on the loneliness of his role. Imagine standing alone, day and night, watching the skies and the realms for signs of danger. It's a solitary existence, filled with long hours and a constant sense of alertness. Despite this isolation, Heimdall embraces his duty with pride. He knows that without him, Asgard could easily fall into chaos, vulnerable to its enemies. His unwavering vigilance speaks volumes about his character. Even as Ragnarok looms on the horizon, he remains steadfast, a pillar of strength and loyalty amidst uncertainty. The gods depend on him, and he's more than willing to bear that burden. Now, let's talk about Heimdall's incredible senses. Legends say that he can see for hundreds of miles, and his hearing is so sharp that he can hear the grass grow and the wool on sheep's backs. These abilities are not mere tales. They underscore his essential role as a guardian. Imagine being able to detect the slightest movements or sounds that others can't perceive. This godly perception makes him the perfect sentinel, alert to even the smallest threat from afar. But his senses are not just gifts from the gods. They symbolize his relentless dedication to his duties. Every whisper of wind, every shift in the landscape becomes a potential warning, and Heimdall takes his responsibilities seriously. Let's delve into Heimdall's origins, which are shrouded in mystery. Some myths suggest he's the son of 9 giantesses, each representing different aspects of nature. Others claim that he is a direct descendant of Odin, the All-Father. This complex lineage adds to his intrigue and highlights the idea that Heimdall embodies the connection between the divine and the natural world. His birth from 9 mothers also symbolizes his unique nature, suggesting a multifaceted identity that grants him extraordinary abilities. Each mother represents a different power, merging to create a guardian unlike any other. As we approach the epic events of Ragnarok, Heimdall's role becomes even more pivotal. He is the one who uncovers Loki's cunning plans to bring ruin upon the gods. Loki, known for his trickery and deceit, poses a significant threat. Heimdall's keen senses alert him to Loki's schemes, giving the gods a chance to react. However, Heimdall's efforts, while admirable, ultimately can't prevent the impending disaster. His actions do buy the gods some precious time, allowing them to prepare for the chaos that is about to unfold. This aspect of Heimdall's story emphasizes the theme of vigilance in the face of inevitable change. Even though he cannot stop the tide of fate, his awareness is crucial in navigating the challenges ahead. Now, let's not forget the Gjallarhorn, a symbol of Heimdall's power and the harbinger of Ragnarok. The sound of this horn is a haunting signal, ringing out to announce that the end times have arrived. When Heimdall blows the Gjallarhorn, its deep, echoing tones resonate across the realms, a call to arms for the gods. Picture the scene. As the horn's mournful notes fill the air, the gods rally to Heimdall's side, preparing for the ultimate confrontation with their enemies. It's a moment thick with drama and tension, where every being in Asgard knows that the world is about to change forever. As chaos erupts and the forces of darkness descend upon Asgard, Heimdall faces Loki in a legendary duel. This clash of titans is nothing short of epic, each exchanging powerful blows, embodying the struggle between order and chaos. The tension escalates, with the fate of the gods hanging in the balance. Despite his bravery, the battle is fierce, and both warriors fight with unmatched ferocity. Heimdall is a force to be reckoned with, but Loki is cunning and resourceful. As they clash, it's clear that the outcome is uncertain. The struggle represents not just a physical battle, but a deeper conflict between loyalty and betrayal. In the end, it's Heimdall who emerges victorious, a testament to his strength and determination. But victory comes at a terrible cost. The world is ending, and the gods fall one by one. Even as the destruction unfolds, Heimdall stands tall, a symbol of unwavering loyalty amidst chaos. Heimdall's role in Norse mythology transcends that of a mere guardian. He embodies the spirit of resilience. Even as the world crumbles around him, he remains vigilant, dedicated to his purpose. He's a reminder that courage and loyalty can shine even in the darkest of times. His legacy is one of hope, a beacon for those who face their own challenges. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into the world of one of the most fascinating gods of the Greek pantheon, Apollo. Known as the god of the sun, music, prophecy, healing, and even the arts, Apollo is an incredibly complex and powerful figure. But many of us only recognize him for his iconic association with music, overlooking the layers that make him so influential across many domains. So today, we're going to explore Apollo's many talents and uncover the mysteries that surround his duality, from his creative expressions in music and poetry to his authoritative roles in healing and prophecy. To understand Apollo, we need to look at him from multiple angles. Most notably, Apollo bridges the gap between the rational and mystical. On one side, he embodies reason, light, and prophecy, qualities that connect him to the sun and the clarity it brings. On the other side, Apollo is deeply tied to the emotional realms of music, poetry, and art, expressions of the soul's depth and complexity. This duality is what makes Apollo such a compelling figure, and it's this blend of characteristics that we'll be unraveling today. Let's start with Apollo's association with the sun. In the Greek pantheon, Apollo wasn't always linked to the sun. Originally, Helios, the Titan, was the sun god. But as Apollo's influence grew, he became more commonly associated with sunlight and the idea of enlightenment. The sun, in many ways, became symbolic of Apollo's power to bring clarity and vision through his light. He illuminated the world both literally and figuratively. As the god of prophecy, Apollo could see into the future, revealing truths that were otherwise hidden in the shadows. His famous Oracle of Delphi was a place where humans came seeking answers to their deepest questions, trusting in Apollo's power to unveil what lay ahead. Speaking of the Oracle of Delphi, let's explore Apollo's role as a prophet. The Oracle was one of the most important religious institutions in ancient Greece, and it functioned under Apollo's jurisdiction. The Pythia, the priestess of Delphi, would enter a trance-like state, supposedly channeling Apollo's divine wisdom to give prophecies. These prophecies shaped decisions from personal matters to matters of state, showing Apollo's profound influence in both the mortal and divine realms. Apollo was, in essence, a bridge between the gods and humans, a conduit for knowledge that transcended the ordinary. Now, while Apollo is often viewed as a bringer of light and wisdom, there's another side to his character, one that shows his capacity for punishment and justice. Take, for example, his rivalry with the monstrous serpent Python. After defeating Python, Apollo claimed Delphi as his own, establishing it as a center of his divine authority. The story of Python also reflects the balance Apollo maintained between chaos and order, a key element in understanding his character. Another one of Apollo's more famous stories is a tale of his love for Daphne. This myth reveals Apollo's more human qualities, his ability to feel deep emotions such as love and desire. Daphne, a nymph, was pursued by Apollo after being struck by one of Eros's arrows. However, Daphne prayed to escape Apollo's advances and was turned into a laurel tree. Heartbroken, Apollo declared the laurel tree sacred, forever entwining his love for Daphne with his connection to the natural world. This tale highlights not only Apollo's romantic longing, but also the idea that love, much like the sun's rays, can be both life-giving and unattainable. Let's shift now to Apollo's role in healing and medicine. Apollo was considered a god of healing, with his powers often invoked to protect against disease and plague. In some stories, Apollo's arrows spread plague, but he also had the power to take it away. His son, Asclepius, went on to become the god of medicine, showing that Apollo's influence extended into the health and well-being of the people. His dual role in both causing and curing diseases represents the ancient Greek understanding of balance in the cosmos, where life and death, sickness and health are part of a greater whole. Perhaps one of the most gripping stories involving Apollo's many talents is the tale of his musical contest with Marsyas, a satyr. Marsyas dared to challenge Apollo to a contest, and naturally, Apollo won. But the outcome was severe. Apollo punished Marsyas by flaying him alive, a gruesome display of his divine authority. This myth isn't just about Apollo's prowess in music. It's about the consequences of hubris and the reminder that even in art, justice and order must prevail. As we can see, Apollo's talents were vast and multifaceted. He wasn't just a god of music or prophecy. He was a figure that embodied the balance between light and darkness, life and death, art and reason. His influence in ancient Greek life spanned far beyond his lyre. He touched nearly every aspect of life, from the natural world to the human soul. In another famous myth, Apollo's powers of prophecy come into play when he foresees the downfall of Troy and the fates of its heroes. Here, we see how Apollo's wisdom and foresight influenced great events in human history. His ability to see beyond the present, coupled with his role as a healer and artist, makes him a truly unique figure among the gods. It's his ability to intertwine all these roles, prophet, healer, musician, and god of the sun, that makes Apollo an enduring character in mythology. Greek mythology is full of gods and goddesses with larger-than-life personalities, but one figure stands out for his wit, charm, and cunning tricks: Hermes. Known as the swift-footed messenger of the gods, Hermes is much more than just a divine courier. He is a god of travel, commerce, thieves, and a trickster at heart. In today's video, we'll dive into the fascinating world of Greek mythology to explore the complex character of Hermes, his major myths, and how his influence shaped the ancient Greek world. Although Hermes may not always be the first name that comes to mind when discussing Greek mythology, his impact on ancient Greek society was profound. Often depicted with wings on his sandals and helmet, Hermes was the embodiment of movement, guiding souls to the underworld, facilitating trade and commerce, and even orchestrating some of the most clever and mischievous acts in mythological history. In this 15-minute journey, we'll uncover the origins of Hermes, the intricate tales that surround him, and how his actions shape both gods and mortals alike. First, let's look at Hermes' diverse roles in Greek mythology. As the son of Zeus and Maya, Hermes was born into greatness. From the moment he was born, his mischievous nature was apparent. According to legend, he escaped his cradle as a newborn, embarking on an adventure that would define him as a trickster god. Along the way, he discovered a turtle shell and created the first lyre, an instrument that would play an important role in his future dealings with the gods. But Hermes was far more than just a playful prankster. He was also the god of commerce and trade, revered by merchants who sought his favor for successful journeys and profitable deals. Ancient Greeks would offer sacrifices to Hermes before embarking on trade missions, hoping his guidance would lead them to wealth and fortune. His association with thieves is no coincidence either. Hermes' wit and cunning made him a god who could outsmart even the most powerful deities. One of Hermes' most important roles was his duty as a psychopomp, a guide for souls making their way to the afterlife. In this role, Hermes escorted the souls of the dead to the underworld, leading them to the river Styx where they would be ferried to their eternal resting place. This essential duty highlights Hermes' position as a mediator between the mortal and divine realms. He was the only god able to traverse freely between Mount Olympus, the mortal world, and the underworld, making him an indispensable figure in Greek mythology. Perhaps one of Hermes' most famous myths is the tale of how he stole Apollo's sacred cattle. As a mere infant, Hermes used his quick wit to steal a herd of cattle from Apollo and hide them in a cave, cleverly disguising his tracks. When Apollo discovered the theft, he confronted Hermes, who initially denied the accusation. However, after a series of negotiations and Hermes' offering of the lyre he had created from the turtle shell, the two gods reached an agreement. This story not only illustrates Hermes' skill as a master of deception, but also emphasizes his ability to resolve conflicts through charm and diplomacy. Hermes also plays a critical role in the myth of Persephone and Demeter, one of the most well-known stories in Greek mythology. After Hades abducted Persephone and brought her to the underworld, her mother Demeter fell into deep sorrow, refusing to let crops grow. Desperate to restore balance to the world, Zeus sent Hermes to the underworld to negotiate Persephone's return. With his silver-tongued diplomacy, Hermes convinced Hades to release Persephone, but not before she ate the pomegranate seeds that bound her to the underworld for part of the year. This myth showcases Hermes' cunning nature and his unique ability to navigate delicate situations. Another notable myth involving Hermes is his role in aiding the hero Odysseus. On Odysseus' journey home after the Trojan War, Hermes intervened when Odysseus and his crew landed on the island of Circe, a powerful sorceress who had the ability to turn men into animals. To protect Odysseus from Circe's magic, Hermes gave him a magical herb called moly, allowing him to resist her enchantments. This myth reveals Hermes' protective side and his willingness to help mortals in their time of need. As the messenger of the gods, Hermes enjoyed a close relationship with his father, Zeus. He was often sent by Zeus to deliver important messages or to mediate disputes between the gods. Hermes' loyalty and wit made him one of Zeus' most trusted allies. Despite his reputation as a trickster, Hermes was always dependable when it came to his duties as a divine messenger, ensuring that the will of Zeus was carried out efficiently. Hermes' influence wasn't limited to mythological stories. His impact permeated ancient Greek culture. As the god of communication, he symbolized the exchange of ideas, knowledge, and goods. In fact, his name is the root of the word hermeneutics, the theory of interpretation. His role as a bridge between different realms, whether between mortals and gods, life and death, or trade routes, made him a vital figure in the lives of ancient Greeks. In conclusion, Hermes stands out as one of the most fascinating figures in Greek mythology. His dual nature as both a helpful guide and a cunning trickster makes him a complex and intriguing character. Whether he's escorting souls to the underworld, aiding heroes on their journeys, or pulling off daring acts of theft, Hermes embodies the idea of movement, adaptability, and cleverness. Join me as we explore one of the most poignant and heart-wrenching myths in history, the tragic tale of Orpheus, a legendary musician whose melodies were so powerful they could sway even the gods of the underworld. His story is not just about music, but about love, loss, and the overwhelming human desire to defy death itself. In this video, we'll dive deep into Orpheus's journey to rescue his beloved Eurydice, unravel the meaning behind this myth, and see if we can recreate the same magic that once charmed even Hades. Orpheus was no ordinary musician. Born to Calliope, the muse of epic poetry, and Apollo, the god of music and light, he was destined for greatness. From a young age, Orpheus was renowned for his musical talent. His lyre was not merely an instrument, but a vessel for emotions so deep, so powerful, that they could tame wild beasts, make rivers pause, and even cause mountains to tremble. Music was his language, and through it, he communicated with the world in ways that words could never express. But as incredible as his music was, it wasn't enough to protect him from the cruelties of fate. Orpheus fell deeply in love with Eurydice, a beautiful nymph, and their wedding was a day filled with joy and celebration. Yet, as in many tragic tales, happiness was fleeting. Shortly after their marriage, while Eurydice was walking through a meadow, she was bitten by a venomous snake and died almost instantly. Orpheus was devastated. His grief knew no bounds, and the world itself seemed to mourn with him as he played sorrowful melodies in his mourning. Unable to accept his loss, Orpheus made the decision that would seal his fate. He would descend into the underworld, the realm of the dead, to retrieve his wife. This was a journey no mortal had ever returned from. But Orpheus's love for Eurydice was stronger than his fear of death. The underworld was a place of shadows, darkness, and despair, ruled by Hades, the stern god of the dead, and his queen, Persephone. But as Orpheus descended into this grim and terrifying realm, he had one weapon that no one could resist: his music. With each step deeper into the land of the dead, Orpheus strummed his lyre and sang of his love and loss, his melodies echoing through the caverns of the underworld. First, he encountered Charon, the cold, unfeeling ferryman who carried souls across the river Styx. It was said that no amount of gold or pleading could move Charon, but when Orpheus began to play, something incredible happened. The dark waters stilled, and Charon, usually emotionless, was overwhelmed by the beauty of the music. Moved to compassion, Charon agreed to ferry Orpheus across without payment, breaking the ancient laws of the underworld. Orpheus's journey wasn't over. As he walked deeper, his music continued to resonate to the land of the dead, calming the spirits and even taming the monstrous Cerberus, the three-headed dog that guarded the gates of the underworld. His melodies were more than just notes. They were a reflection of his soul, filled with hope, love, and sorrow. Finally, Orpheus stood before the thrones of Hades and Persephone, his heart heavy with longing. He played the most sorrowful, haunting music he had ever composed, pouring every ounce of his grief into the strings of his lyre. As the notes filled the throne room, a miracle occurred. Hades, the god who presided over death and despair, was moved to tears. His queen, Persephone, was equally enchanted, and together they granted Orpheus a rare gift. Eurydice would be allowed to return to the world of the living, but there was one condition. Orpheus must not look back at her until they had both reached the surface. With renewed hope, Orpheus began the journey back to the land of the living, Eurydice following close behind him. Yet as they climbed the long and treacherous path, doubt began to creep into Orpheus's mind. Could this be real? Was Eurydice truly behind him, or had Hades deceived him? With each step, the temptation to look back grew stronger. His love, His need to see her face just one more time overwhelmed him, and just as they were about to step into the sunlight, Orpheus turned to look. In that instant, Eurydice was pulled back into the shadows, forever lost to him. Orpheus could only watch in horror as his beloved disappeared into the depths of the underworld once more, this time never to return. The grief that followed was unbearable, and Orpheus wandered the earth in sorrow, playing mournful tunes until the day he died, still longing for the one he could never bring back. Orpheus's story isn't just about love. It's about the fragility of hope and the consequences of doubt. It's a reminder of the limits of human power. Even when armed with the most incredible gifts, his journey to the underworld is a reflection of our deepest fears. The fear of losing the ones we love, the fear of the unknown, and the fear that our efforts, no matter how grand, may not always be enough. But the myth of Orpheus also speaks to the power of art and music to transcend even the boundaries of life and death. His music was able to touch the hearts of gods and spirits, something no other mortal could achieve. It's a testament to the enduring power of creativity, emotion, and the human spirit. To this day, Orpheus's legacy lives on, inspiring countless artists, musicians, and storytellers. And that's the tragic tale of Orpheus. Join me as we dive into the wild world of Dionysus, the god of wine, ecstasy, and madness. Together, we'll uncover the secrets of this enigmatic figure, exploring his origins, significance, and the many aspects of his character that continue to fascinate us today. While many of the Olympian gods represent order, civilization, and restraint, Dionysus stands out as a figure embodying chaos and liberation. His influence touches on the untamable aspects of nature and human experience, making him an anomaly among his fellow gods. Dionysus represents the unpredictability of life, the primal, boundary-breaking forces that both give us joy and, at times, push us to the edge of madness. The story of Dionysus is a tale of duality. On the one hand, he brings celebration, freedom, and the intoxicating pleasures of wine. On the other, he is a symbol of wildness, excess, and the dangers of losing control. His mythology reminds us that while structure and order are necessary for society, chaos and unpredictability are essential parts of life. They're the forces that keep us human, allowing us to express ourselves, break free from constraints, and experience moments of pure ecstasy. Dionysus's existence is a reminder that even the most structured societies need unbridled expression and creativity to truly thrive. Let's start with his unusual origins. Dionysus's birth